Hello and welcome to the conversation. I'm your host, Rytis, reaching out to you from the capital of Lithuania, from Vilnius, and halfway across the world in the city of Angels in Los Angeles, California, is my dear friend who is a doctor of psychology, a professional psychic medium and healer, Lady Reverend Dr. Layla, and she is the Psychicology doctor. In our previous conversations, we've covered a lot of things about energies that were happening around us, things that have been happening with us personally. Today, I feel like we should take a step back and just talk about the basics and the beginning. So here I am, looking for some sort of guidance, some sort of answer, some sort of help in, I don't know, feeling lost, not knowing what to do. And I have options. I can either go get a psychic reading or I can sign up for therapy. My question is this: which one do I choose, and how do I know which one am I supposed to choose in that situation?
I think that's a question a lot of people ask about. So generally people come in for a psychic reading to ask about something that they can't figure out themselves. That's generally, tell me about my future. Tell me what's going to happen. Let me look at some of the main topics is, what's happening in my love life. Let me give you the name of this person. What are they thinking about me? Because they're uncertain. These are things that you're having a hard time looking at someone or a situation or your health, and you can't foreshadow your future. That's a psychic reading. A therapy session is you're going in, you're discussing with somebody your deeper, most inner thoughts to explore who you are. So you're exploring your subconscious and your unconscious. You're going in session after session. So hopefully you're strengthening your self-discovery, and you're strengthening your sense of self, your ego, connecting with it's your self-actualization of who you really are. So this is more like a therapy session is a place where you should be going continually in order to recognize your patterns and build onto the life that you would like to have, versus the patterns that you've been continuing on that doesn't serve you anymore, which is probably what led you into therapy to begin with. That's a therapy session. Going back to the psychic reading, a psychic reading, most people, they just want an answer. They're looking for, what does my future hold? Some of the readings I've even had is, I don't think this is illegal, but it's a reading. If I put money into this Bitcoin or this stock or invest in this, so it's a lot of business related questions. Again, I let people know I am by no means a businesswoman, but I will share what I see and how things look. That's the basic thing. That's a very general, what's the difference?
So would you say that, because what I'm hearing is, if you are looking for an inner scope in terms of going inwards for yourself, you should sign up for therapy. And if you're looking outwards for some sort of an answer about a specific thing that's outside of you or necessary or kind of related to you, but not in terms of like self acknowledgement and work with self, you go get a psychic reading. Is that pretty much?
I think so. I mean, yeah, that on a surface level, yes. On a surface level, absolutely. Yes. Is there a burning question? So for example, also psychic readings, there's different types of psychic readings. So why are we getting a reading? Again, is it to find out if so-and-so loves us and why are they not contacting us? Which is one of the most common ones. Finances, what's my career look like? Am I on the right path? I can't pick the right path. Then we have psychic mediums, which not every psychic is. So there's different types of psychics actually. And a psychic medium, sometimes, for example, people will come to me because they have burning questions, unfinished questions before a person passes away. Or if somebody is unconscious, so, they're on respirator, and and that loved one deeply wishes to talk to the person that is in the hospital and can't communicate, then you might want to seek a psychic medium or somebody that is capable of being the conduit between the person that doesn't have a voice for you to listen and the person that wants to hear what's happening. So that's another reason to go to a psychic.
So let's shift into a little bit of a different theme now. Once you figured out, I want a psychic reading or I want some therapy. Okay. You've mentioned that there are different kinds of therapy and different types of psychics. Right. My question then is, how do you find the one that's right for you, whether it be a psychic for a reading or whether it be a therapist? What should you look for? How does that work?
I got you. So there's different types of psychics, just like there's different types of therapists. So you're going to want to look for somebody that matches what it is that you're looking to gain out of the situation. So for example, there's psychics that they're an expert because let's say they've done, 50,000 hours on relationships only, or, psychic mediums who've done, 30, 50,000 hours on being, a medium and talking to the people who've passed away. So this becomes an expertise. So it depends on what you are looking for. If you're looking for a general, what's my future hold for 2023, or what's my future hold in 5 years from now, you want to look at somebody who is looking into the future, who's used to looking at the future. Because somebody that does maybe readings on relationships, even though they can look at the future, that might not be their strength. Go ahead. Do you have any questions so far?
No. Continue. I'll ask it later.
Okay. So, for example, this goes into types of psychics that you might encounter. So you're going to hear somebody say, so we say clair, like clairaudio, clairvoyant, clairsentient. So they'll claim to be certain types of clairs, and then there's some that'll claim like, oh well, I'm all of it. There's usually one that's stronger than the other, and different types of strengths. I feel like your wheels are turning. So different type of clairvoyance, clairaudio, clairsentient, empathic. I think that's the most common one, being empathic. Those are the strengths of the psychic. And so they're using that ability to answer your question. So for example, let's use an empath as an example. Empaths in general are really good at picking up on how somebody feels in the present moment and how they may have felt in the past and what's going on. So if you're looking for like a relationship question, again, I mean, somebody that's clairvoyant, meaning all seeing, or clairaudio, all hearing, they can also do that. They can also see what the person thinks of you, hear what the person, like the dialogue in their head, what they're thinking of you. An empath is going to be able to feel what they're feeling and therefore relay that message over to you, meaning that you'll get your answer in one form or another. So the psychic might say, oh, this is what I'm seeing. This is what I'm hearing. This is what it feels like. Now, if you want to do like a medium, somebody passed away, generally an empath may not be the strongest conduit. So you want to go to somebody that is more so clairaudio, clairvoyant, and has that strength. Does that make sense so far?
It does. I just wonder if all psychics advertise as that specific type of psychic, though. Because I have seen, when I was in New York, like I told you before we started recording, when I would go from my acting school on the way home, there would be tens, of different psychic readings for $10, $20 or whatever, or psychic, just a sign. But I don't remember them specifying what type of psychics they were.
So those kinds of psychics, I can't answer for all of them. I've also gone to those because on Santa Monica Boulevard and out here in California, there's rows and rows of psychics.
Yeah.
I've also encountered a lot of, they're just considered scam artists or people that know how
Hmm.
to talk in such a general form. So those kinds of psychics, let's put that conversation aside just for a moment.
Okay.
No, psychics are going to claim, a lot of psychics from what I've seen, they're going to claim that they are all of everything, right? And that
Hmm.
may be for marketing. So you want to take the time and find somebody that, it seems like they know what it is that they're providing you on a deeper level. You don't want somebody that just says, hey, I'm this and I'm this and I'm this and I'm this, and they don't describe themselves or explain how they do what they do. Because a lot of
Okay.
people
So
that come in, oh yeah, go ahead.
yeah, sorry, but so how would one find that out? Let's say I haven't been to a psychic ever. I have my eye on someone online, or however I found out. Probably word of mouth is the best way when somebody can describe what they have accomplished for them. I
Definitely the
guess
most
that's,
trustworthy way, yeah.
yeah. So that's probably it. But like, if you don't have anyone, like, let's say in your close friend or family circle who has ever gone to
Mhm.
someone, how would you discern if someone's, on the right level, right for you? If you can only, like, I don't know, read, you know, um, what people say about them online on their website, or read their own advertisements. So how do you figure that out then?
I mean, unfortunately, in the end, I think that comes down to trial and error. Um,
Mm. Hmm.
it's because maybe the psychic that, is advertising, maybe they haven't realized or discovered the different levels. You have some people. Some psychics are spiritual, but not all psychics are spiritual. That means not every psychic is going to be aware of if they're clairaudio, clairvoyance, chakras, spirituality. Does that make sense? Being psychic,
Hmm.
hey, I have an ability, but I'm going to go, wreck my body the next day and be drinking and smoking and, just doing readings upon readings, and that's how they live their life and that's how it works, and they're super popular and they give out answers. So I've seen a lot of psychics give out very general answers and kind of just manipulate their words, and that's enough for some people. Is it authentic? Is it genuine? I'm sure some of it is. Again, I can't speak for other psychics, but I can speak from my personal experience of having gone to psychics as a kid, having a psychic family. So it really depends on where you're going, and again, um, you're paying for the value of the psychic. So if it's a $10 reading, you're probably going to get something equivalent to a $10 reading. Um, I see
Okay.
your mind churning. So what's going on?
Yeah. So I'm thinking, because I think, shifting back to, let's say, the therapy side of things,
Mm.
because I know when I was looking for my therapist, there's a database online, of practitioners in my area. You can go on there, read their bio, read their info, read whatever they studied, whatever they're currently studying, what sort of therapy are they doing? Are they doing CBT, or are they doing whatever, something else? So I feel like, in terms of therapy, that's an easier way to probably find the right person. Or I mean, I guess you still need to, talk to them and figure out if they're like, I don't know, you're vibing with your therapist, if that's the thing, right?
That's actually the key word. Am I vibing with the person that I'm talking to? So
Okay.
simply, so just like a therapist, so just like, let's say, out here we have, actually it's all over the US. So Psychology Today.
Hmm.
You have that list. You have just list after list of who the therapist, and then they have their bio. But the reality is they're explaining what they do, but until you walk in, because then you'll see that sliding scale of the price range. So until you walk in, you're not really going to know if the price is worth the value. So again, there's a lot of trial and error. So if you're shopping independently and you don't have a referral, take a moment and notice how you feel. If you feel like, hey, this person is hitting all the key points. So in a reading, are they hitting the nail on the head without me having to say much? So, you know, if a psychic is bad, they're going to be fishing for things. They're going to say, oh, this person is this way, but I also see they're strong, but I also see them weak, and they're I don't know, really wealthy, but I also see them poor. So if they're just throwing random things out without going straight to the point, chances are they're just fishing, and that's not the kind of psychic I personally would want to go to. Same thing with a therapy session. A therapy session is different. We're supposed to ask questions for you to expose the answer so we can reflect it back to you. Now, the type of therapy session that you would want depends on you. CBT is it's very like to the point. Let's find the core problem. Let's find solutions. So it's what's the presenting problem? How can we solve the problem right away? Generally, a therapist will use CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy, right away to help reduce whatever the symptom is. If you're coming in with severe anxiety, they're going to use CBT. Let's find an immediate solution. Let me give you some breathing techniques. Let me give you some homework to do. I don't like to use homework. Let me give you some extra fun activities to do throughout the week till we hang out the next time. So maybe go for a walk. So next time you have anxiety, this is something you can do until the next session. Then, depending on how much time you're willing to be in a session, how much are you willing to put in? So you have some people that they can only come in for 6 weeks. Insurance only provides a certain amount of time. So you want to get in as much, I guess you could say, tools as possible to reduce the symptom in the fastest amount of time. Also for therapists, if you're going to therapy, if you have that extra time, so, some people, they stay for years and years. Let's say at least within like a year or two, you should be able to explore all the unconscious hidden patterns that should be coming up in a therapy session. So you want to find someone that, one, you feel comfortable with, someone that you can share, someone that when you have transference, meaning you're having a reaction to the therapist, that you can actually talk about it. You need to talk about it. Sometimes people, they have a reaction of, oh, I'm angry, so I'm going to stop coming to therapy. You're supposed to bring, hey, I'm angry at you. I'm angry with you. You said this last week, and I felt this way. The therapist should be able to discuss that with you. It is not a personal thing. It is you're having a reaction. Bring that in. Let's discuss your emotions. Let's discuss what's happening. Let's discuss, the pattern, the behavior, all of it. And then that gives you the insight to break out of that hamster wheel. So that's a step-by-step thing. For a psychic, you want to know, let's say you're getting a reading. So let's say you're going to a really amazing psychic, maybe they're $50 for, 15 minutes. You want to try them out. If they have like a time frame, so I do, 15, 20, 30, 45, and an hour. So I always tell my clients, I say, start with the minimum. If you like me, great. If you don't like me, not a problem. Obviously, my whole business has been through referrals. So for me, I'm confident that I want to give you the best. I want to make sure that I'm the right fit and that you get, your money's worth. So I think if you're going to a psychic, start off with the minimum. See if what they're saying resonates with you. See if what they're saying, hits you. If you're feeling the emotion, like they get me, they don't know me, I didn't tell them a thing, they can't find this online. They're not asking for names ahead of time, right? So for example, my method is we book the session, you come in, I ask if you have questions or if you want a general. The general is you give me your name and that is it. So I don't even ask for your middle or last name. You just give me your first name for this to book your session. When you come in, I ask you to say your full name, and then I'll say to also give me like your birth date. Right at that point is when I start giving you your general. That means I'm telling you about you, everything that I see. I'm seeing maybe colors in your aura. I'm seeing, people around you. I'm seeing people that either passed away that are coming in. So it's a lot of information and it's a lot of talking. It's like a motorcycle, just there's a lot of information that I have to share because this is big download. Then we go into questions that you have if I didn't answer your question during the general reading. 9 times out of 10, 9.5 times out of 10, I answered most of it, but they want to go into a little bit more detail about what did you mean by this. So that is what would be considered a quality psychic reading. If you're getting that, then you know this is somebody that you can go to consistently to have your needs met as far as like questions that you have.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. So now let's talk about the skeptic and the realist part in me. Has this question, because I think as a fan of a TV show, The Mentalist, where they constantly say there's no such thing as psychics, and as someone who, like you said, like looking at those $10, $20 psychic readings, like I said, there was one psychic that I could see like through the window, and she was just giving me a bad vibe. I remember you mentioned when we were talking last time that there are psychics that people left the session and felt like they have invaded their body somehow. So there's a lot of I guess dangers or just things that you would think that since people are coming to these people in a time of need, with a question, with something that they're looking for answers for, what stops others from doing a cold reading on someone, or a cold read, or doing like you said, like giving them just enough of a hook, or like reading something from their reaction so that they will come back. I feel like there is that part of in all of us, being like skeptical, and also like feeling like, am I being used, or is this something that clicks? Is there a way to kind of know if that's happening, or do you just go by your gut feeling? Do you just have to trust your intuition in that sense?
I think to whittle down the question, I think what I'm understanding is, how do you know you're going to a good psychic? Like, how do you know?
Well, in general, whether it be psychics or therapy, just like, how do you know that the person is not just basically using you for their monetary gain? Is it a feeling that you get? Is it how they present themselves? Is it how they interact with you, or is it like a sum of all things?
Well, again, I can't speak for all therapists, but I would hope in our field, as a therapist, it's extremely unethical to have monetary gain. As doctors, regardless if we want to or not, we're there for you. It's just like it's equivalent to a medical doctor who has to save the life, no matter what, of a criminal, of somebody that has done extremely harmful things to other people. Our duty as a clinician is to be there for the other person. So now, at the same time, that doesn't mean the patient gets to abuse us or gets to scream and yell or that type of thing. But generally, it is a safe space for us to have a discussion. It is up to you as the patient to decide, hey, you know what, this was a intense session, but this made me feel good. I left with insight. If you're leaving feeling like I'm not getting anything, all I'm getting is like really small nuggets here and there, but nothing's happening, they might not be the best therapist for you in that aspect. So that's and that should be much more regulated. There's licensure to think about. There's the board of psychology. There's so much more as far as a therapist. Unfortunately, with psychics, there is no board of psychics, so hence why a part of something that I'm working on is to be able to provide something along those lines, is to be able to regulate things. Now, again, not everything is going to be regulated. I'll tell you something. I'll give you a story that I have. When I first started seeing some psychics, it was, again, kind of like Santa Monica Boulevard, Hollywood, wherever, $10. And I went in slightly naive, I was only a teenager, and hoping to receive this answer. Am I going to get married? What career path am I supposed to take? That type of thing. And their response was, oh, yes, this person loves you, but there's a lot of dark energy. And so I need $350, or I need money right now. It has to be right now, has to be at this moment. It sounds like a scam as we're talking about it. You okay there?
Yeah, I'm good. I'm good. Sorry.
Don't fall over. um, so it sounds like a scam at the moment, but what they're doing is they're hitting your survival. They're hitting your fear, the fear that we've had for thousands and thousands of years, that we see, in ancient history, even in ancient Persia, we have the evil eye. In many cultures still, we have the evil eye. We throw salt over our shoulders. So there is something innate in us that we understand the concept of spirit, things that we know is there, but we can't see it, we can't touch it, we can't use our senses, right? We can't taste it. But we have a sense. So this might leak over into, for example, forensic psychology. If you feel, what's it called? Like goosebumps, like the back of your hair standing up kind of thing. Yeah, I'm sure people are like, yeah, we get it. Okay, so if you're feeling that, if you feel like, the hair on the back of your neck standing up out of nowhere, and then you get that feeling in your gut, like, that's not just your intuition. That is the animalistic reptilian side of you, that the unconscious part of you, like the actual basic primitive side of you, that is saying, get the hell out of here. It's equivalent to, hey, there's a saber-toothed tiger staring at you, and it's going, and it wants to eat you. The hair on the back of your neck is going to stand up. You're going to go into fight or flight, and you're going to want to run. I suggest running. Same thing with psychics, same thing with anything. Now, again, if you've suffered trauma and this is, maladaptive behavior, that's a different topic, and we're not going to get into that today. But in general, if that's not your daily reaction, I would say trust it. And you don't have to go into that person. If they're trying to push you to come in, I would not want to go to that person. If somebody is going to push me to do something, I don't want to do it. The last thing I would want to do is push a client. I've had so many people come in like, oh, well, I'm not sure, after 3 discussions, they're like, well, this whole thing seems really scary. You know what? If they're not ready, they're not ready. So somebody that cares about the work that they're doing, or at the very least is providing a service, a part of it is, I want you to feel comfortable when you're walking in. That's the reality. Because missing out on one session, or you not coming to me for one session, is not going to make or break, it doesn't make or break the bank. It doesn't make or break much of anything. What it does do is, if I push you, it's, first of all, I don't think that's right. Ethically, to me, I think that's just absolutely not okay. And it leaves the person feeling uncomfortable, and nobody should feel uncomfortable walking into a vulnerable situation. So I think you're asking a very great question. I also think it's a little difficult, because there's so many people out there that are actual readers, and they can give you a general, they can answer a few questions. It may or may not be the depth that you want. So it really is about, it's kind of like trial and error and deciding who is worth your time. But I can tell you, yes, there's a lot of scam artists. If it doesn't feel good when you talk to them, don't go. It's as simple as that. You don't go. Why why jump into the lake if there's going to be something scary? If you can't see the bottom of the lake, the shore, whatever it is, it's a little intimidating to go in.
Mm-hmm. So what I'm hearing is, at the end of the day, because of the structure and the point of both a therapist and a psychic, which is to help you.
Right.
If you feel like you find yourself in an environment where it doesn't help you,
Mm-hmm.
that's the wrong person for you, at least, regardless of whether they are, what they claim to be or they're not. If you get the feeling that this is not for me,
Right.
it's most likely not for you.
Right.
And then you go and find the person that's right for you. Is
Yes.
that about correct?
Yes. And I can tell you this, a lot of people that are yes. One win for you. There are a lot of people who are skeptical of psychics. And what for me, for example, I did go to a lot of different psychics, and there were some really amazing ones that unfortunately they're retired. And I'm just like, it'd be great to talk to you again. But there are psychics out there, and there are people that it's not like The Mentalist. I actually haven't watched The Mentalist, so maybe I can't say that. But again, it's you're looking to see what information you're receiving, and if you're reading about the future. So one of the things, for example, I was giving somebody a reading, and I'm like, okay, this is really weird, but I'm just going to say it anyways. I said, look, I see you getting your passport and going to Italy, and I see you doing all, A, B, C, and D. And she's like, I don't have my passport. There's no way in hell I would go to Italy. Like, what are you saying? And I said, you know what? I agree with you. I was like, this seems weird, especially with what we're discussing, but this is what I'm seeing. I said, so when this happens, just feel free to send me a text message and just let me know. And sure enough, I think it was like 7 or 8 months later, she messages me and she's like, by the way, I ended up meeting someone, I ended up going to Italy. All this stuff happened out of left field. And I just wanted to say thank you. So that's how you know. So is she a reoccurring client now? Yes. Yes, because so far throughout all the years, everything I have said has happened. So again, it's taking the time. I've had people come back to me. They're like, 2 years ago, you said this. Do you remember? I'm like, no, I'm so sorry. But remind me, what did I say? And they're like, well, you said this, so I would like to have a reading. I would like to have another reading. And that's how you build, you know, that's how you build like trust, reputation. That's how you know that the person you're going to is good. You're receiving results, but the results feel good.
Okay.
I have one last thing to say that just crossed my mind. I just want the audience to know. I personally find it important that if we're talking about something sensitive, and sometimes a client will come in because they're dealing with problems, like let's say relationship problems, and they're coming to the psychic because they just want to know the answer. They're not going to go to a therapist. They're just absolutely not. I've let's, I've had some clients, they come in, they don't care to go to a therapist because they're not getting the answer. I do think it's important to be able to handle the client with the emotion that they're going through, to help them get to the next, hopefully overcome that difficulty that they're going through. Most psychics don't have that ability. I can't say all psychics. I don't know every psychic in the world. So most psychics are not equipped. What happens is they get annoyed with the client and the emotions, and then the client feels it. Oh, this person is getting annoyed by me asking the same question, or I'm going through the same situation. Psychics are not equipped as a general, um, to handle that level of, this person's coming back. That's when I would recommend, if you're going to the psychic, I also recommend going to a therapist so that you can see what this pattern is. Because
Mm-hmm.
does that make sense?
Yes, I'm just thinking, since this is the time of year where it's around Valentine's Day and love and whatever. So I'm just thinking, if you want to ask someone that can, communicate with the universe, oh, does this person think about me? Do they love me? You should probably go to a psychic. But if you are thinking in terms of like, why does nobody love me, or like, am I the problem? You should probably go seek out a therapist. Or maybe that's just a gross, just oversimplification of everything we talked about.
I think oversimplifying it is a great way to explain it, because if you are hitting a pattern over and over and over again, a psychic might not be able to answer that for you, potentially, unless you're telling the situation, the story, and they might just reflect back what they're seeing or what's coming up. And that can happen. So again, it depends on the psychic. A therapist's role, like their entire, career is about, you're coming in, we're listening to your story. So you're telling, let's say you're my patient, you're coming in, you're telling me your story. You've been coming to me for 3 years. And at this point, maybe I've seen you talk to, have a couple different partners, or I start seeing what your dating life is like. I start seeing your pattern, and therefore I'm able to discuss with you what your pattern is and bring it into your conscious, because you're not going to be able to see it. And the reality is not a lot of people are going to be able to notice that. That is the purpose of going to a therapist. That is the purpose of going to a psychic. Again, another thing is, okay, here's one example. So I had somebody that was coming to me they were dealing with a lot of litigation with their company. And, again, the larger the company, unfortunately, there's always somebody looking to cause issues. Now, in the psychic reading part, it was, how is this going to look? And I think another thing to be aware of with psychics is they might either say, oh, it's great, because they don't want to deal with the repercussion of the emotion of the client, or they're going to say, oh, it's so bad, you need to come to me all the time. That shouldn't be the case. It is, for example, so the person came in, what does this look like? I said, look, it looks like by this time, this is what's happening. And then by this time, this is what's happening. I'm not a lawyer. I don't know the legal words, but I will describe things the best that I can. They're like, oh, this is a deposition. This is this is that. Great. But this is what it looks like. So this was going on for years. And they kept coming back, because once we hit that point, I was like, this is what this looks like. He's like, well, okay, this is what happened. So what's next? Now, as far as the anxiety and the anger, well, I can't have that happen. No, this can't happen. No, what do you mean? What do you mean this? What do you mean that this is going to go for 2 years? I can't have this happen for 2 years. I don't have control over that, either as a therapist or as a psychic. I don't get a healing, get a healing, and hopefully whatever blockage there is will be released, and it'll be a smoother transition. But it's important to deal with the emotion of, if it's a psychic reading, of the client. So the client is dealing with something emotionally. They're having, high blood pressure, anxiety. So how do you deal with that? So for me personally, also as a psychologist, I'm helping them ease their anxiety and how to handle things. But that would be somebody that would be great if they're coming in for a reading, so they can be prepared for the future. And the reality is it was a difficult future. And a therapy session would be, how can they regulate their emotions while they're going through a hard time?
It makes sense. It makes a lot of sense. And it's funny, and I'm gonna share something that probably people don't think, but generally I am very skeptical about
really
about most things. Specifically psychics. I've never had a psychic reading. However, I know you, and I trust your abilities, both as a clinician and as a psychic. So for me, it's very interesting that we are talking about all of these things, because in my mind, I'm taking notes as well of what I should look out for and how I should go about things. And it makes me think. And I think everything you have said kind of falls perfectly within like reason and logics, and things that should play and should be in effect. So I'm curious, and I think maybe one day I will even venture out into the world and try myself a psychic reading and see what it's all about, or try different types of therapy, and just see what's there and what's out there. Because for me, I very much, I need proof, I need logics, I need steps, I need a line being drawn for me, what comes from where and what's happening. But sometimes there are things that don't necessarily have that, And whether you trust it or not, I guess it's up to everyone. But it's interesting for me, talking about these things, at least, because I feel like a lot of people, and I know a lot of people who think similarly to myself. So it's a very interesting and eye-opening experience, and I thank you for it.
Oh, my pleasure. Yeah, no, my pleasure. I honestly think that's what makes you such a wonderful host, because you question these things. You're not just walking in, asking me a bunch of random questions. You have that. It's not prove it. It's you have that skepticism, and I think that's wonderful. Why not?
Yeah, why not? Exactly. Also, Valentine's Day. Any thoughts? Anything in the sphere of love that we should all, because we talked about the energy of the new year. I feel like the energy of Valentine's Day, it's always here as well. Is there any shifts, anything happening in that sense?
That's a good question. We'll do another show on that.
All right, perfect. So there you have it. That is the conversation for tonight. Thank you to Layla, as always. Thank you to all of you who are listening, watching. We appreciate you all. If you have any questions, as always, leave them in the comments, reach out, and we'll definitely get to talking about the things that are on your mind. And yeah, let's keep this conversation going. And I guess
Yeah.
till the next time.
Yeah. Till the next time. Thank you so much.